Well, Kash Patel's FBI just shut the door on investigating any foreign involvement in Charlie Kirk's assassination, even though the NSA wants to do just that under Tulsi Gabbard, under DNI's Tulsi Gabbard. Now, we broke this story back on September 18th. Did a whole video on it, by the way, on September 18th. I reported it weeks ago here on the show that sources close to the White House had told Redacted that the FBI was ready to close their investigation, claiming that Tyler Robinson was the lone gunman. Nothing more to see here. We're not going to look at any foreign actors, any foreign involvement at all. We are done. We are done. Nothing to see here. Many of you were outraged, as was I, that they would close this investigation so quickly, and rightly so. And then after, a few days later, friend of the show, Alex Jones, in separate reporting from his own sources, confirmed what we had reported on September 18th, that they're done. Now, we didn't know at the time that Joe Kent was involved, and we didn't know the full details of why they were closing this investigation, just that it was done. Lone gunman, nothing to see here. Well, now we have full confirmation of this. The New York Times is now confirming what we reported back on September 18th, that this happened back in September. They report that Joe Kent, friend of the show Joe Kent, who's been on our show multiple times, director of counterterrorism, alongside his boss, Tulsi Gabbard, wanted to look into foreign involvement in the Charlie Kirk murder, and Kash Patel is trying to shut that down, effectively shut it down.
Now, here's what the New York Times specifically is reporting, that the inquiry by Mr. Kent, who is the director of counterterrorism, alarmed Kash Patel and other senior officials who the Daily Mail reports as other senior cabinet members, plus White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, who we're going to talk about in a second. They said that this investigation could potentially interfere with the prosecution of Tyler Robinson, but supporters are saying, well, actually, no, that's Mr. Kent's job, is to run down all leads. It is never the job of the government to look the other way. I think we should all collectively agree on that, right? It is never the job of the government to ignore something. Now, this was reportedly a contentious meeting. And again, it should be noted that Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles, was there. If this foreign intelligence has anything to do with Israel, this is interesting because we should remember that many senior Trump cabinet members worked in Netanyahu's 2020 re-election campaign, including Susie Wiles. So if there is anything foreign to a foreign government with which she has worked, that would be interesting. We know this from reporting earlier this year. So these are the people who are saying that we should not look into foreign intelligence, not look into foreign involvement. The excuse that they're giving, again, is that this can hurt their investigation, their prosecution of Tyler Robinson, which has a few problems. One, it could mean that the FBI is withholding evidence, which is a violation of the Brady requirements, which requires prosecutors to hand over any evidence favorable to the defendant. The notion that the FBI just can't show its cards, we've had guests even say that. Well, they're in an active investigation, an active prosecution. They can't show us everything. Well, they've already made their case to a judge in order to get an indictment. So there should not be something else now that can hurt that case if they've already brought the goods. And you should want them to bring the goods. It also seems like we should collectively want everybody to get a fair trial, full stop. And it seems like they've decided that they don't want that. What they're saying is they don't want the public to see anything to question their narrative. But they're then telling the public only a selective story, so they are influencing a jury. Amongst all this is reporting that their key witness, Lance Twiggs, is missing, if he in fact existed.
The trans lover.
The alleged trans lover of the alleged shooter, Tyler Robinson. Now remember, we had a major problem with Lance Twiggs' involvement in this, in that according to their timeline, Tyler Robinson submitted himself to the police 33 hours after the assassination, which would have been about 9:30 or 10 at night. Then a few hours later, they went and raided their home. Then they brought Lance Twiggs in for questioning. This is now extending way into the night. By 8 a.m. the next day, the governor gives a very high-profile press conference saying, Tyler Robinson acted alone, we got the guy. So they didn't even start until midnight, their raid. But by 8 a.m., they were ready to say, no, Lance Twiggs had nothing to do with it, but we have these text messages. That never made any sense to me. That one really sticks in my craw. So joining us to discuss, someone who's equally pissed about this is Jesse Merle from the Jesse on Fire show. And
welcome to the show,
ahead.
Jesse. Great to see you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me on. Big fan of the show.
Thank you so much, and you've been
Likewise.
doing great work on this. So first, let's wind the clock back a little bit on this Kash Patel piece and Joe Kent. You've been doing some great work on this. Maybe you can walk us through sort of the intrigue here about this. I mean, you have I don't perhaps evidence. We don't exactly know, but the fact that the DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, and Joe Kent wanted an investigation. What's wrong with an investigation? Like, let's get answers.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think when you look at a story like this that comes out. I look at it from a couple of different perspectives. The first one being, how did this story get out? Because what's being reported is a closed door meeting in the White House between two of the top leaders in the, two of the largest intelligence organizations that we have, law enforcement and intelligence. And if that meeting had sensitive information, or at the very least details about what happened there leak, someone is very unhappy about what happened in that meeting.
Yes.
And my instincts would be that it would be the organization that was blocked from investigating foreign ties to anyone who's implicated in the Charlie Kirk assassination. The question that I have is, like, I understand that the FBI is going to try to protect their prosecution against Tyler Robinson. In their mind, they had a bow on this case, whether they put the bow on it themselves or someone fed them a patsy, or if it's really Tyler Robinson. And but to me, there are so many threads to pull on to see if there are other people involved. And I'm talking just in terms of domestic people that are connected to Tyler Robinson. Let's say that their story is exactly what happened. You still have co-conspirators, obviously.
Right.
And
Sure.
I literally heard Kash Patel say that in the event that they found other radicals who were connected, that it was going to be the state that was going to prosecute those cases. I mean, I'm not super experienced in how the FBI operates in cases like this, but generally speaking, I've never heard of the FBI doing investigations that they're going to hand off to the state. You know what I mean? So
No, it was bungled from the beginning.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of criticism. Why'd the FBI swoop in anyway? Kash Patel shows up there, does a whole press conference, the whole thing. So he wanted the optics of this. We got the guy. In a matter of time, we got the guy. We got the guy.
Yeah.
Case closed. You're done here. I think you're absolutely right that there was clearly a leak on purpose. Like I said, our reporting happened late September on this, and there were people who were absolutely pissed that this was getting swept under the rug in the White House. I can tell you that, full stop. So I think you're right about that. Whoever let this information out is pissed.
Well, I think we should also sort of put a pin in the fact that the New York Times reported it. The New York Times, which has not questioned the official narrative of lone shooter, which does not make sense to most rational, self-respecting people. So we need to ask ourselves, why the New York Times take this?
Right.
That's an excellent question. And I think that the other question too is, I mean, I know that everybody is kind of looking in one direction in terms of what foreign power would potentially be involved. But if you have one of the leaders who is actively trying to keep other leaders from looking into the files and what connections may be there, then you have to look at what their connections are to any foreign countries that might be implicated in this thing. And in terms of Kash Patel, you have a blaring problem in that he went on a press tour to tell the world that there's no evidence of anyone trafficking or having girls trafficked to them by Jeffrey Epstein, which every person who has taken 3 minutes to look at that case knows is an outright lie. Like, and now, like, the amount of evidence in that particular case that's come out very recently, the leaked or the hidden camera that O'Keefe got the DOJ guy on. I mean, that's damning. Virginia Giuffre's book that came out, damning. You've got all kinds of stuff that we didn't know before. And he went in front of Congress and said into a microphone that the FBI had no evidence of anyone being trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein. It's absurd. And so why would they do that? Everybody knows, what intelligence agency foreign was running Jeffrey Epstein. So now anything that involves this type of, maybe it's them. If you have Kash jump in between, exposure and repercussions in that country, then you got to ask yourself, like, why is he doing this? Why? What's the motivation for him to be jumping in between them and potential repercussions for any of the things that we're talking about?
If you've been seriously injured, your case could be worth millions, and you should know exactly what your rights are. That's why I want to tell you about Morgan & Morgan. They're America's largest injury law firm with over 1,000 attorneys working in all 50 states. And unlike a lot of firms that settle quickly, Morgan & Morgan doesn't take lowball offers from insurance companies. Just in the past few months, they won $12 million in Florida when the insurance company offered only $350,000. And in New York, they secured $6.8 million on a case where the offer was just $275,000. And the best part? It's absolutely free unless you win. Insurance companies try to pay out as little as possible. Morgan & Morgan fights to get you more if you become their client. It only takes a few minutes to see if you have a case, and you can do it right from your phone. It's that easy. You can visit forthepeople.com/redacted, or you can click the link in the description to get started.
And who specifically is fabricating evidence then? It's one thing to say you can't look into all the evidence. It's another thing. I think most of us, I don't think anybody bought that text exchange between the lovers, right? And so where did that come from? Where is this key witness? How did you then vet this key witness, Lance Twiggs, from 11 p.m. at night to 7 a.m. the next day? You had gone through all their computers. You were totally sure that he had nothing to do with it. Who believes that, right? These are unbelievable postures that they're setting forth and asking us to buy. So it makes sense that there would still be some adults in the room saying, this is not it.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have seen the coverage that I had earlier the week, but we did myself and my guy who does a lot of the investigations for me, we found, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Sky Valdez, who was a very early suspect because they had, they're a transgender member of the Utah Armed Queers or whatever. And they had posted a song to their SoundCloud like the second week of August called Charlie Kirk Dead at 31. They also had a like a painting or a drawing that they had made posted to their Instagram the same day of a shooter in a prone position on a roof with a mountainous backdrop that is absolutely identical to the one at Utah Valley, and the title of the drawing is Roof. And we found a direct connection between Sky Valdez and Lance Twiggs through their through not Discord, but through their Steam account where they talk to other gamers. And so you're like, okay, the feds just, you guys felt comfortable just clearing Lance Twiggs. He doesn't know anything about this, but we can look into this and find clear foreknowledge, clear motive, clearly has to have had some kind of involvement over here. And we connected them to Lance Twiggs, who the governor went on national television, was like, this is a great actor. He had no idea what's going on. And the evidence is this incredibly ridiculous manufactured text thread that is so obvious to not be genuine. I mean, like your best case scenario of that text interaction is Tyler trying to shield Lance from prosecution. That's like that's the most generous version of what that could be, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and most transparent administration in history, right? Like, right? What, like President Trump ran on that most transparent administration in history. So you literally have his head of intelligence and Joe Kent specifically saying, we want to investigate this. There's something there. We need to investigate this. What's wrong with investigating something? Maybe it points to Ukraine. Maybe we know that there were Azov members literally there on January 6th at the January 6th riot or insurrection. You will, like, where is this foreign money? Are there actors that were paid by the CIA? We want to know. We want to clean house on this. Why is it,
we also want a government that never looks away, right?
Right. Exactly. We want to shine a light on this, even if it makes us uncomfortable. And so, I mean, President Trump could step in here and say, hey, guys, enough of this BS. Stop this infighting. I want a full investigation of my friend, Charlie Kirk, who helped me get elected.
Yeah, I mean, my theory on this, I did a video about this last week, and my theory on all of the Epstein stuff and as well as any of this kind of shielding Israel from any kind of speculation. And I'm not saying that they're involved, by the way. I'm not saying they're involved at all. But my theory on the Epstein stuff and all of this is you've got Jared Kushner over there doing this $50 billion reconstruction in Gaza. And if anyone thinks that Trump is not he's not negotiating on behalf of Trump. I mean, this is probably going to be one of the biggest deals that's ever been done ever. When Biden was in office, he's got this Mickey Mouse operation where he's got Hunter Biden going around picking up, Kash or, putting him on a board of a Ukrainian energy company. It's like Mickey Mouse corruption. And at the same time now, the Trump guy, these guys know how to do business. You elect a business person to become president, and they are going to have gigantic opportunities to make tremendous, unfathomable money. And if you look at that Gaza deal, you have Kushner and Trump, you have the Saudis, you have Israel, and then you have Peter Thiel, and you have Elon. And so, I mean, they're literally going to rebuild this area. They want to build Singapore. They want to build Dubai, and it's like that amount of money, because I never believed that Trump would take a back step when they're like, oh, they must have compromising information on Trump. I'm like, Trump would tell them to go F themselves if they tried to lean on him that way. He would not break. But you put like Rockefeller level money and status in front of Trump, and now you got something he's going to be motivated by. That's been my theory on why there seems to be funny business going on there. Personally, that's my thoughts. What do you guys think?
Would that explain why he would call Epstein a Democratic hoax?
Yeah, I mean, maybe because think about it like this: if they actually release the Epstein files, who gets hurt? Whoever is in possession of the compromising information on the most powerful people in the world, because that leverage, it basically takes the power that those people wield and it makes it the power of the owner of the compromising information. So if they start exposing people every time they do that, whoever has the compromise is the one who actually loses. And so I could certainly see, if they're in this big deal, they're like, we just need you to kill this Epstein thing, and if you're talking about, I can't even imagine how much money you're talking about in this deal.
Yeah, but it's not killed today. Prince Andrew's losing his titles. So that can't happen if Epstein had no clients.
Yeah. No. Oh, no. Epstein had plenty of clients. I'm talking about like the administration's attempt to try to minimize who gets exposed by this thing. And and I always thought Prince Andrew was such a common sense, kind of thing to throw to like the wolves. It's like, well, we got to give him someone, we got to give the people someone. And Prince Andrew is not an actual person who wields a lot of power. He's a royal, so they're like, here, give up Prince Andrew, as opposed to like Bill Gates or someone who has real power, and they want to keep control of those guys. At least that's, this is all theoretical. I have no proof of any of this,
Go ahead.
Can I chime in real quick?
Yeah, Phil.
Yeah. I just want to say, like people tend to focus so much when they're talking about Epstein on like the child sex trafficking, and I don't think that's what they're trying so hard to hide and keep hidden. Yeah. It's the financial crimes. That's what I think they're scrambling around to cover up. I don't think they care about the child trafficking, to be honest. I think it's the financial crimes is what you've got all these people in power are trying to hide. They're trying to bury that.
Totally possible.
Can I ask you this, Jesse, which is the thing that bothers me here on this fight? If we go back to the original reporting on this, if Kash Patel, who's a domestic law enforcement, a domestic federal law enforcement agency, not supposed to be in the intelligence, right? Not supposed to be involved in foreign intelligence at all. That's where the CIA steps in, and that's where Tulsi Gabbard, so why the hell is Kash Patel, would he be inserting himself in this anyway if they want to investigate from a foreign perspective? Like, he's shutting that down? What balls does he have to do that?
And imagine if a foreign power really did plan, fund, and execute this, and they assassinated Trump's number one, captain of his, organization in terms of recruiting the young people, whatever. Charlie Kirk was an incredibly valuable asset to the Trump.
He was a generational ambassador,
and to the country. And
right?
If a foreign adversary actually pulled this off, the level of brazenness that would take, and how overt and crazy an attack that would be, like, wouldn't you want to make sure that China didn't do this, Israel didn't do this, Russia didn't do this, Ukraine didn't do this, or some other actor? It seems like, making sure that a foreign country did not do this should be of the utmost importance to everyone.
Oh, I believe we are going to hear soon that Russia or Iran did it.
Say to them about why he wouldn't want them to look.
Right. Or you don't want to look more deeply to realize that our own CIA with these other intelligence agencies was directly involved, as Colonel Towner Watkins points out. Like it all leads back to MI6, the CIA, and Mossad. And so, we're all just like pawns on their chessboard right now. Jesse, great to see you. Thank you so much. And keep up the great work. I encourage everyone to check out the Jesse on Fire show over there. Great friend. Great to have you here on the show, Jesse.
Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.